So this is the VezerLezer ED10. I've actually reviewed this before in the 6500 Kelvin color temperature version, and their first release had a lot of issues, and so they've updated it and they have changed some things which I'll go over at the end. After my footage I'll go over what they've fixed and what's still an issue, just my conclusion. And so this 5000K version, they asked if I would, in neutral white, they asked if I would be interested in retesting it, and I thought I would do that for a new brand for their first model, give them another go. So I'll just go over the light here. So it comes with a 2600 milliamp hour capacity 18650 rechargeable lithium ion battery. Quite good style on this. You've got the semi-gloss anodizing, you know, there's no rough edges on it, it's very well machined. You've got spiral sort of designed knurling on here. It doesn't actually provide much grip though, it's just sort of just a nice style. Tail stands fine. Bit of fins on here, USB Type-C charging. I just won't bother lifting that up. The cover is feels like it's just a little bit thin, but it seems to be okay. The switch is a bit resin on here, no problem finding it in the dark. It is got a bit of texture, rough texture to it to help as well. Good solid click to it, and there's no play or movement in it. Very good side switch. So you've got orange peel reflector and an anti-reflective coating on the glass, as well as an SST40 in here in that 5000K neutral white tint. The tint is really good on the 5000K version. Has a really nice rosy tint to it. That looks great. The cool white in 6500K that I reviewed, it had quite a bit of green on the lower levels, but not on this version, so that's great. Yeah, so I'll go outside and go over the levels, and then we'll have the conclusion at the end. So I'm just going to go over the UI out here. So it's just click for on, click for off, and then hold from off gets you the moonlight, which is on at the moment. And then it's just hold the switch to cycle through the levels. So that's the eco level there. Low. Medium. High level. So it's just such a good beam on this, no artifacts at all. Really beautiful transition from the spot to the spill. So double click from here gets the turbo. Then triple click for the strobe. 4 clicks for SOS. Then a single click to return to your previous level. So if you hold from off for a period, it will switch to the smooth ramping as well. And of course the 5 clicks from off gets you the lockout. So here we are at the end. This is just the conclusion. This is just a boring part of staring at my hand while I chat. I will look at a later time filming myself so you can see my face in that later reviews perhaps. So this light here, it performs well, and they fixed a lot of issues on it. But at the same time, you would have seen with the specs that I would have put up with my tested lumens that it fell quite short of the rated claim of 2,200 lumens. Yeah, so the first, they sent me the 5000K version, this one actually here, and this one was actually faulty. It had a faulty LED in it, and so they resent another one, which is this one here, and this one was fine, and so I thought, well, I will use the 6500K LED from the first unit I reviewed, and I stuck it in this faulty unit here. It's perfectly working fine, it was just the LED at fault. So I put the cool white version in here, and I tested the lumens and everything, and found that using the exact same LED just between the first batch and this now updated batch, I was able to get a good idea on the performance. And I noticed that it's performing quite a lot less than the first light I reviewed. So for the cool white 6500K here, I compared it to the first unit that I reviewed, and that got at 30 seconds with the bundle battery, it got 1900 lumens. So that's not bad. That's 300 lumens shy of the rating. That's quite okay. And now the second batch, it tested only at 1575 lumens, so that's 325 lumens less. That's the same LED used between just the first batch and the second batch. I don't know what's happened, whether they've changed something on the driver, or whether there's increased resistance somewhere in the circuit. I'm not quite sure, but they've changed all the lumen levels. So I thought, well, maybe it might be the battery, and so I tried a Samsung 30Q in the first unit I reviewed, and with this one here, and the first batch unit got 1960 lumens, and on this one it's 1731 lumens. So it's confirming that they have changed something, and you're not getting the same performance. Definitely not what they're stating it to be. It's quite a way off that. So that is very disappointing. So they've fixed some things, and it's sort of made it not so great at the same time. So I'll just go over what they've fixed. So on the first unit, they had the the thermal regulation on medium was not working. So it wasn't stepping down when it was getting too hot. There was no low battery indicator, so it would just die. It would just drop straight off with no indication of it dropping sort of down to a lower level, just off. That's fixed. The smooth ramping it was too fast, and it's still too fast. They mentioned they had dropped the speed down by 30%, and they have done, but from medium to moonlight, the smooth ramping just goes way too fast. You can see that it's just sort of just dropping. It's too hard to sort of get it in between, to stop it in between. So I don't use the smooth ramping. I just use the stepped ramping, the set levels. I just find that it's a bit useless if I can't select in between that. That just needs a fine tune. SoFin were the same, Convoy were the same as well when they first got into the smooth ramping. And the moonlight on the first batch was entirely unregulated. So by the time the battery got to something like 3 volts, it was completely useless. You could hardly see that the LED was lit, and they fixed that, but at the same time they've increased the lumens to 8 lumens for the moonlight instead of what it was before. It was spec'd at 1 lumen, but it was tested at like half a lumen, so that was awesome. A really nice moonlight level, great for getting up in the night so you don't wake yourself up too much with the bright lights. So this is it's great for, good for outside still, outdoors, but it's just not one that I would kind of grab in the middle of the night for that reason. One issue that is still there is that if you have the tail cap unscrewed slightly, as you would if you were going to lock it out to stop the battery draining, and you plugged in the cable, if you plugged in the USB-C cable and then you tighten the tail cap, even though it was actually charging, the LED status would remain green as if it was fully charged. So that just needs fixing there. I would like there to be an indication when you've reached the moonlight or the high and the smooth ramping. There's no, like on other models, it will do like a quick little blink to let you know that you're on the lowest or highest. And I just find myself having to keep pressing the button, thinking that it's still, got a little bit, to go. It's not quite there yet, and so it's not really an issue if you were only using this light. But if you're switching from different lights, I just found that it could be a good thing for them to add in there. So it is a good performer, good quality, nice beam, but for a brand's very first model, you would think you would try and test it so thoroughly that you could perfect it, because you only get one good first impression of getting out there and advertising your brand, a new brand on the scene. So it was just a bit strange for them to have so many issues on their first batch. I didn't go over one of the issues. It was one of the major deal breakers of the first batch was that if you were on the stepped ramping and you switched over to smooth ramping, and instead of using it, you switched it off, the next time you turned it back on, it wouldn't actually turn on with a single click, but the battery would be draining as if it was on. So that was a huge fail. So that's what I mean. It was just a bit strange that they didn't thoroughly test this thing, being their first model out there to sort of launch their brand. It was just a bit strange. But yeah, I hope that has helped someone out there that has been looking at picking this model up anyway.